Hello, I'm Lily from Canada. Please like and subscribe to MSA. Growing up, I was a healthy and strong kid who wasn't afraid to jump from high walls or do anything extreme, but I could only imagine all that because my parents were so overprotective. Once when I was 4 and Mom took me to the park, I started doing handstands and cartwheels with another child, and all the moms were cheering us on. But my mom started to panic.
Lily, where did you learn to do those dangerous stunts?
From TV. There's this cool dance program and…
Enough. We need to go home.
From that day onwards, Mom and Dad stopped watching anything with dance, gymnastics, or any physical activities. When I was in 3rd grade and wanted to be part of an extracurricular dance for school, they never allowed me. You guys are so unfair. You know how good I am with my feet. Why can't I just dance?
Because, hun, we live a very peaceful life right now. What if you become a famous dancer and then there are reporters and the next thing you know you're being published? Do you really want all that attention?
Yes? Who doesn't? My parents still refused and their excuse was ridiculous. And then when I went into high school, I started to rebel against them and become friends with the most rebellious girl in school, Zoe. Everyone in school was scared of her because she did the craziest things. Like this one time when we were in the 8th grade, she set the school's rose garden on fire. Oh my gosh, Zoe, we're gonna get in so much trouble. There's no cameras here, so no one will know. This is my payback to the principal for giving us detention for an entire month. Huh, I know, that was so unfair. We weren't the only ones who threw food around in the cafeteria. Even though Zoe was crazy wild, she was the most genuine person I'd ever met. And one day when we were in the 11th grade, she finally invited me over to her house for a sleepover. I can't believe this. This is the first time you invited me to your house. Well, you haven't really invited me to your house either. But anyway, my mom only recently got a decent job to take care of us. We struggled for a really long time after my dad left. Oh, I'm sorry. You mentioned us. I assumed that you were an only child. I wish I were an only child. I have a brother. And just because he goes to a special school, my parents give him all the attention. And just then when we entered her house, the most gorgeous-looking guy gazed at me from the living room. Lily, meet my goofball brother, Grant. Hi, Grant. As we walked past him, Grant winked at me and I blushed so red. I was definitely gonna enjoy my sleepover. Zoe's room was exactly what I expected it to be. Creepy and a little scary since she had bats hanging from every corner. And then her mom came into her room limping. I made you girls some cookies. So glad to finally meet you, Lily. Zoe's mom was so sweet, but Lily told me she was sad most of the time. And when I asked why, Lily said she didn't want to talk about it. I was really moved by the story. And then Zoe broke the ice by slamming my face with a pillow. Pillow fight! We had loads of fun pillow fighting, dancing, and just being free until my mom called.
Honey, I think you need to come home.
But Mom, we spoke about this. I'm sleeping at a friend's house because we're working on a school project.
Your father and I are very worried.
I'm hanging up now and I'm not coming home tonight. Zoe saw how frustrated I was and I ended up telling her all about my crazy parents. Maybe they're hiding something from you. Because why would any parent not want their kid to participate in any hobbies or activities? Yeah, they're definitely hiding something because my life is not normal. That night, I couldn't sleep, thinking about what secrets my parents had that made them so scared about everything I did. I checked if Zoe was asleep and she was snoring like a bear. I got up to go get some water and while I was at the kitchen sink, a hand suddenly touched my shoulder and I jumped, feeling freaked out. And before I could scream, Grant held my mouth. Oh my gosh, you gave me such a fright.
I'm sorry. I usually wake up to get a glass of milk around this time. I have night eating syndrome. I got it from my dad. You want to join me?
Well, I'm struggling to sleep too, so why not? Grant and I sat outside on their swinging chairs on the porch. We spoke for hours and I couldn't believe we had so much in common.
I sometimes teach Latin dance to some of the younger kids at the community hall after school. You should come by.
Wow, that's so cool. I'll definitely stop by. We continued talking until we lost track of time and fell asleep on the chair. But I woke up to a camera flashing in my face and Zoe looking angrily at me. So, I guess having a sleepover with my brother was much more fun than with me. Zoe, it's not like that. Zoe didn't let me finish and rudely asked me to leave her house. But Grant stood up for me.
Why are you being so difficult? I like Lily, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Grant took my hand and walked me out. I just felt more and more sparks between us. Zoe started acting weird after that, but at least I had Grant. As time went by, I started going to the community hall after school to watch Grant teach. I was mesmerized by his moves, and one day after his class was over, he called me to dance with him. Grant, I don't know anything about dancing. I'll just watch. He took my hand and held me around my waist, and we almost kissed, until we were interrupted by Zoe. She had her music kit and danced in the hall glaring at me. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just here to practice for the up-and-coming competition.
You need a dance partner for the competition.
Don't worry about me, brother. You should be concerned with your dance partner, who has 2 left feet. I wasn't planning on taking part in any dance competition, but because of Zoe's new attitude towards me, I took her mockery as a challenge. What if we practice until we shine so bright that Zoe won't be able to open her big mouth anymore?
I think I like that plan.
After a while, I stood up to Zoe. She tried to make my life a nightmare at school. Once I was reading a book under the school tree during recess, and then suddenly I felt eggs cracking on my head one after the other. And when I looked up, I saw Zoe looking like a koala. Zoe, I'm gonna get you for this, you crazy witch. She definitely laughed like a crazy witch after that, and that wasn't all for the day. When I got back home after school, she was at my house, and thank goodness my parents weren't around. Have you completely lost your mind? I didn't come here to fight. I'm just here to warn you about my brother. He has a girlfriend, so let's just stop being enemies and let's go back to being pals. Your brother and I are not dating, and besides, he would have mentioned his girl. Before I could complete my sentence, my parents came back from shopping and Zoe's expression changed. You know what? I think we should just forget the friendship thing. I felt so confused with her, and my parents acted even more strange when they rushed me into the house and locked the door.
Who was that? And why was she at our house?
Relax, that's Zoe. I was at her house for a sleepover. And why are you two always on edge? Did y'all commit a crime or something?
Lily, we will not have you talk to us like that. To your room, now.
My parents frustrated me with whatever secret they were keeping. I was done listening to them and never told them about my dance lessons or the local competition. But I did invite them to the contest and told them it was a school function. I thought after they saw me dance, they would understand my passion. But I was wrong.
Lily, what did you do?
I just won a local competition. You should be proud of me. And then Mom suddenly took my hand in a panic.
Come on, we have to get out of here before anyone sees us.
But before I could walk out the door, Zoe called out to me. She was with her mom and Grant. Lily, wait. My mom wants to meet your parents. I pulled my hand away from Mom and ran to them. And when Zoe's mom saw my parents, she immediately stopped smiling, and my parents had this look of guilt in their eyes. Lily, are these your parents? Yeah? Why? Our parents used to be best friends and famous dancers. But one time, they were doing a competition. Your mom tripped my mom and broke her foot. Your mom ended up winning the competition, and my mom's foot was permanently injured. She was never able to dance again. I looked at my parents, and all of a sudden, Mom started crying, and I looked at her angrily. So all this time, when you were stopping me from doing what I loved, it was to avoid how you felt about your guilt?
We did everything for you. When I found out I was having a baby, it came as a shock, and your father and I didn't have any money for a baby.
So you cheated and left her to suffer?
We are so sorry, Lily. This has haunted us for so long, and we are still ridden with shame every day because of it. Somehow, we thought if we shielded you from pursuing any hobby you loved, we'd prevent you from ever making the kind of heartless mistake we made.
Zoe walked away with her mom, and Grant stood watching me with sad eyes.
I guess we'll meet in another life.
That was the last time I saw Grant, because when I went home, Mom and Dad quickly made plans to leave town. So, I guess you guys are just gonna run away from your problems again?
Honey, we have built a good reputation for ourselves, and we can't have anyone ruin it.
Yeah, whatever. I was so disappointed in my parents, and after we moved, I was homeschooled, which I hated, but stuck through it, and whenever I felt like dancing, I did it in my bedroom. And then one day, when I was in the 12th grade, I was tired of being indoors all the time, so while my parents were out, I decided to take the bus to visit Zoe and Grant. The bus rode for hours before we could reach the town, and when I finally got there, it was so dark. As I walked to Zoe's house, I could feel someone following me. And then suddenly, the person who was following touched my shoulder, and I screamed, "Ah!"
Calm down, it's me.
Grant! I immediately hugged him tightly, crying. I had all these emotions bottled up inside, and seeing him, I couldn't hold back anymore. I am so sorry about what my parents did to your mom. Please, don't hate me.
I don't hate you, Lily, but I don't think I can ever forgive your parents for what they did to my mom. But it's about to rain. Your parents are waiting at my house.
I was shocked that my parents would even show their faces in this town. And when I got there, Mom ran to me crying. "Oh, Lily, we were worried sick. How are you guys here?"
When we didn't find you home, we asked everyone we could in the complex. And then finally, a little girl said she saw you get on the Kibler bus. And that bus only goes to one town.
I was shocked that Zoe and her mom allowed them into her house. And then Zoe looked at me sternly. "Why would you run away from your house to come here? Don't you get it? We don't like your family." Wow, I thought maybe over the years you would have grown a heart. Zoe and her family still couldn't find it in their heart to forgive my parents, and I had to accept that. My parents took me back home and I eventually moved on. And one day, Mom and Dad gave me an envelope. When I opened it, I was so surprised. They applied for me to study dance in one of the best universities abroad. Wow, Mom, Dad, are you sure you want this for me?
Dance is what you love, and we deprived you of it for too long. Yes, we will support you every step of the way.
My parents finally started being supportive, and I sent the university my audition clips, and I immediately got accepted. I lived in New York for 5 years training as a professional dancer, and one day I was chosen to perform in the biggest theater production called The Nutcracker. We traveled everywhere, and one day we were set to perform in my previous town. I went to my favorite cake shop and was shocked to find Zoe dressed up like a hobo. "Zoe, is that you?" "Lily, my friend, can you spare me $1? I'm starving." She smelled awful, and instead of giving her $1, I bought her a meal, and after she ate the food, she changed towards me. Don't think this small gesture means I forgive you. You need help, Zoe. I was shocked and hurt that she still had so much bitterness inside her. From there, I decided to go to her house and find out more of what went wrong. And when I got there, I was surprised to find a new family staying at the house. It seemed as though Zoe was left abandoned. I went back to the streets where I found Zoe, took her back to my parents' house, and started her off with a bath. She moaned and grumbled the whole way through, but I wasn't gonna leave someone I knew on the streets. Why are you helping me? Is this because you feel guilty about your parents? No, and that happened a long time ago. I think it's about time you get over it. Now tell me, what's your story? Why are you out on the streets? I messed up. When I found out that you were gonna study dance, I wanted that too, but my mom couldn't afford it, so I gambled hard. So hard that we lost the house. I'll never forgive myself. Zoe started crying and I comforted her. I invited her to the Nutcracker production, and she loved it so much that I even put in a word for her with my manager to be an assistant props girl. And when we went back to my parents' house, Zoe and Grant were there with their mom. They looked so relieved to see her.
Zoe, what happened to you? We've been looking for you for nearly a year now.
I know. Every time I saw you, I hid away. I let you guys down, and I'm sorry. Zoe's mom thanked me and my parents for helping Zoe come to her senses.
I don't think you'll ever know how sorry I am. Do you think you can forgive me one day?
I don't know about that, but we can still make peace with each other. Just then, Grant and Zoe hugged each other and then walked over to me.
So, what about our friendship, Lily? Can we have a new start?
I would love that, you guys.